Hi, I'm Nancy, the dancing accountant, and whenever I'm not go-go dancing to Nancy Sinatra, I'm listening to John Garrett on the Green Apple Podcast.
Welcome to the Green Apple Podcast, where John talks to rock star accountants who stand out at work by focusing on being unique, like a green apple in a red apple world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Green Apple Podcast. I've got a great guest with me today who in her spare time is a member of the Janes. It's a professional 60s go-go dance troupe in Chicago. How cool is that? She has some great insight in how opening up and sharing her hobbies with clients makes her seem more approachable and more human and less intimidating. But before we get started, let me introduce her. Nancy McClelland has been helping small businesses with their accounting needs for over 22 years. She's got a Bachelor of Arts degree in music education from the University of Michigan, as well as a master's in accounting and financial management from Keller Graduate School, where she graduated summa cum laude. We'll talk about how she started as a business manager at the Ann Arbor School of Performing Arts, to becoming a CPA, to starting her own firm. And we've got some really good laughs in between. Plus, you'll never believe at the end where she tells me the coolest thing she owns. So Nancy, thank you so much for being here. We might as well get started with the elephant in the room. So please just let everybody know a little bit more about your firm. It's got the most unique name.
Well, since 2001, I've run my own accounting firm, which is actually called The Dancing Accountant.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, that's actually the company name. I got that name from a client. I was going in costume to a go-go dancing gig that was here in the neighborhood, and a client was there with her kids picnicking. I walked up and she said, "Oh, look, it's the Dancing Accountant." And my company's name before that had been Nancy McClelland, LLC.
Hold on, let me wake up for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so she said that, and I was like, "That's it. That's the name I've been looking for."
That is so fantastic. And so,
great.
and so, how do you find that clients deal with that name?
You know, it's been really wonderful. I've gotten a couple, the clients that I've had forever, they already know this about me. We're all friends on Facebook. We all live in the same neighborhood. I mean, I specialize in small businesses and cooperatives. And so, it's a pretty tight circle.
Sure.
We're friends anyway. It's with new clients that it's really fun because, in my mind, it's a litmus test for them. I mean, running my own business, I get to choose who I work with, right? I don't.
Right.
That's a luxury, definitely. And so I thought, well, this will be great because if they're not cool with it, if they don't like it for some reason, that tells me something about them. And that's never happened. They get so excited about it. They say, "Oh, I saw your email address said the Dancing Accountant. So I decided to look you up on Facebook, or I decided to look you up on LinkedIn, or I decided to look up your website, and you really mean dancing." It's great.
Right. That's funny how no one says, "You really mean accounting."
Yeah, right. I think it humanizes somebody when, they've got a hobby, because it's scary. You run a small business and you're pretty much terrified of anything involving QuickBooks. You're terrified of anything involving the IRS or the Department of Revenue. And, and there's this person that's supposed to be a trusted business advisor, and you do want to trust them, but there's nothing to make them not scary also.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And, we're supposed to be holding their hands. We're supposed to be walking them through all of this. But, for them to feel like you're their friend, you're a real person, you're not just somebody who speaks geek talk and knows how to plug in the numbers, but you're weird like them. We all have weird hobbies.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, that when you're dealing with clients, you can also be scary in the same way that, what they're scared of doing or not knowing in the same way. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, to them, we're finding an accountant in the first place is terrifying. And then they think that we all wear green eye shades and sit at our desk in the corner and go, "Mwah."
Exactly. Those are the tax ones.
Yeah, the tax accountants.
Right.
It's been really wonderful with clients. It's been actually kind of even more. It's been even more wonderful with colleagues, though. I have one story in particular that was really wonderful for me. I was at the Accounting Technology Conference last year in Vegas, and Doug Sleater,
Sure.
as in Speeder Technology Conference, right? He was there. I saw him. I was at the pre-conference. I saw him in the back of the room, and I thought, oh gosh, he's such an idol. It would be so amazing to meet him. And then I thought, well, I'll just get up and go introduce myself.
Right.
So I did, and shook his hand, said, it was a pleasure to finally meet him. I'd been following his blog for years, et cetera, and so on. And he noticed my name tag. He said, The Dancing Accountant. Is that really the name of your company? I said, yes. He goes, come with me. And the next thing I know, I was getting introduced to Misty, who you met the other day. And she had put together this massive flash mob that was supposed to be vendors only. But when they found out that I was a dancer, they wanted me to join in. And by the next morning, I was participating in the opening flash mob for the conference.
That is so cool.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And through that, I met the people at Funding Gate because they were vendors there that were holding a dance contest throughout the course of the weekend. And I met my colleague, Lisa, who is also a dancer. And I met her because she and I were competing in this same
dance-off. Nice.
Yes. So, I mean, the people that I now have, I mean, the network of people just from that one silly experience because Doug happened to notice the name of my company. I mean, these are professionals that I can get in touch with when I have questions or a problem or need a consultant.
I mean, man, that is so powerful.
It's invaluable. Yeah.
No, that's
because of this silly name tag.
Yeah. And had you been, just Nancy McClelland LLC, you'd be in the back of the room in the corner talking to nobody. Right. And no, that is so fantastic. And so when you say dancing, like what kind of dancing do you do?
That's a great question. So I'm actually a member of two different dance troupes. The main one is called the Janes, which is a 1960s style go-go dancing troupe. So think Nancy Sinatra. These boots are made for walking with the big tall white boots. Yeah. Or the old TV shows Shindig and Hullabaloo. We do that kind of dancing, and it's great. We get hired to perform at festivals. We get hired to dance with surf bands and do improv work. We get hired to, do people's birthday parties or teach little kids how to do dancing. I mean, it's wonderful. And then the other group I dance with, I will do guest stints sometimes with a group called the Fabulous Ladies of Fitness, which is which is a 1980s style, like fake aerobics.
Sure. Group. Like a Richard Simmons type of.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get the leggings and the teal and the neon pink and. Yeah. You
totally nailed it. Yeah,
nice.
That's exactly it. So they do a monthly dance party here in my neighborhood in Chicago, and every hour or so they'll get up on stage and they'll do a silly choreographed routine that the audience dances along with. And they invited me to start dancing with them, and I actually got to do summer dance with them a couple weeks ago in Chicago, which is a big, huge dance festival in Grant Park downtown. So I got to teach 500 Chicagoans my choreography to Gloria by Laura Branigan, which was definitely a highlight of my life.
That is awesome. Yeah, that is really fantastic. And one question that I forgot to ask is one thing that I love to ask all accountants is how did you get into accounting?
That is a great question because for me, it was just a remarkable accident.
We might have something in common then.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was at the University of Michigan as an undergraduate student studying music education. Teaching has always been my thing. I've always loved teaching. The topic almost was beside the point. I loved teaching music theory. I love teaching dancing now, and I definitely see my work with my small business clients as definitely a teaching role. Training them how to keep their own books, training them how to read the financials, doing board trainings, etc. So I had been studying music education at the University of Michigan, and a job opening came up at the Ann Arbor School for the Performing Arts. They needed somebody who could teach music theory part-time and be the business manager part-time. And shockingly, I was the only person who applied for that position because that's a really weird combination.
Yes, that's both right brain and left brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved teaching music theory. I mean, that part, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy that, but there were a lot of good music theory teachers out there, and there were very few people who could help. I mean, the founders of this organization were all musicians, and they'd built something really wonderful, but they needed somebody who could communicate with them in the language that they used and the passion that they had and all the ideas that they had. But they needed somebody who could keep track of the finances and keep them organized and suss out which of these amazing ideas were actually executable and which weren't. And that's still something I do. Even actually for the dance troupes that I'm in, that's a role that I often fill.
Wow, that's excellent.
Yeah, so I loved that job so much, and from there I ended up working for Joseph Curtin, who's a world famous violin maker and MacArthur Grant awardee, and I worked for him for years at the violin making studio as the business manager. And it was through meeting his accountant there that I decided to actually, become a CPA, and she gave me my first CCH tax guide. Right. I'm in debt to Teresa for all my life because of that first guide. I still have it.
Nice. Some people listening are like, it's in print? I didn't even know that there was a hard copy of this.
Yeah. I'm sure they must still print it out. I don't know. Anyway.
Right.
So it was from there. It was after I moved to Chicago. I had worked as accounting supervisor in a not-for-profit, and then I realized that I was way too extroverted for those types of jobs, and I really needed a role where I could interact directly with clients. And that was when I decided to get my master's in accounting and financial management and start my own firm.
And the rest is history. Look at this. Wow, no, that's impressive. That's impressive. I just got a D in physics, and then I was like, yeah, I guess I should go into accounting.
Your story's better than mine.
Well, no, mine's just quicker. It's actually a lot sadder. Where all your life you dreamed of one thing, and then you get your butt kicked freshman year, because they're talking about make-believe things you can't see. And I'm like, you know what? I can see money and I can see business, so let's go into that. And but
it's really funny that you mentioned that, because physics has always been really difficult for me. I'm just now getting back into studying it because I'm very frustrated. I'm watching the new Cosmos series, and I'm having a lot of trouble understanding neutrinos, and so I finally got Particle Physics for Dummies or some book like that.
Yeah.
If I come up with anything useful, I'll let you know.
Well, please do, because I think it's all make-believe, simply because I did terrible in it. But that's always so cool to hear how you got into it, and then now have parlayed it into your own business, and really standing out through the dance and bringing that aspect to it, which is really awesome. So how did you get into dancing, or is that something that you always did growing up?
No, that didn't come until a lot later. Well, I'm not sure that's entirely true. I've always loved dancing. I mean, when I was a little kid dancing around in the living room, I pretended that the back of the sofa was a balance beam on a stage, and I'd be doing these fancy, amazing Olympics type dance moves on it. I was pretty convinced I was fabulous.
Right.
So, dancing, but like I would dress up and go to disco night in college, and I would, go to the clubs and go dancing in the years after. But it wasn't until my 40th birthday was coming along, actually. So this was just 3 years ago, three and a half years ago. I how I'm sure all of the people out there who have at some point turned 40 will recognize this feeling. You get this voice in your head that will not stop nagging you about the things you haven't done yet, right?
Yeah.
I'm 40. I'm turning 40. That means I'm going to die soon, and I'm going to die without having accomplished any of my dreams,
Right.
It's this horrible feeling.
And teaching people how to dance to Gloria in Grant Park is one of those things.
It turns out it was. I just didn't know it at the time.
Right. But you have this thing where, you got to get this done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
And I'd always loved go-go dancing. I mean, my husband had even gotten me a pair of the white boots, encouraging me to get out there and realize this dream, but I was too scared. I was especially scared that people would look at me as some 40-year-old wannabe, somebody doing something that was way too young for them, wasn't distinguished. I was really scared of that. And
Sure.
I finally decided it didn't matter. One day I just Googled go-go dance class Chicago and I found the Janes, and not even during tax season do I skip class. The class is every Monday and Tuesday night, and if I'm in town and there's not an emergency, I make it to class.
That is so great.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I danced. I went to class for about 4 months before they joined me or asked me to join them in the performing troupe. But I'll tell you, that first performance, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was utterly, yeah, no, I didn't want to get
Well, I
on
mean, only
stage.
4 months. I mean, that's a short amount of time to get up to speed. I mean, you had it in you. This was destiny. This was.
I guess it was. In retrospect, it seems like it, but at the time, no, I was just plain terrified. I was worried other people would judge me. I would worried what other people would think.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, it's one of the women in that troupe that helped me get past that. I mean, I still get scared. I get scared for every performance. I get scared, that I'll mess up a move. I don't get scared that people will judge me anymore.
That's great.
Her name's Laurel. She's just fabulous. She was a real inspiration for me because she wore what she wanted to wear, and she did what she wanted to do, and she said what she wanted to say. And I referred to her at some point as fearless.
Yeah.
And she had such a great response. It's totally words to live your life by. She said, "Oh, no, I'm not fearless. I'm just as terrified as the next person. The difference is that I do it anyway."
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That
It's
is huge.
So
Yeah.
she really was my inspiration for I don't know, getting past that fear, even though you have it anyway. It's okay. It's okay to be scared. We're all scared.
Yeah, and do you think that this experience has impacted your business at all and how you approach
Absolutely.
that? Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because, and I'm sure a lot of CPAs out there listening to this will have the same kind of experience. You have certain clients who will make you feel intimidated, or you'll have certain clients who, for one reason or another, are difficult. And it's okay to be scared about those meetings too. It's okay to be anticipating pushback from them. It's the same exact thing. It's okay to be scared. Just take a deep breath and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Going up to meet Doug Sleater at the conference last year, it was the same thing. I mean, he was standing in the back of the room. I was sitting in a pre-conference session. Getting up during the middle of that session and pretending to go get a glass of water so that I could be standing next to him in the back so that I could real casually.
Oh, well, since you're here, Doug.
Exactly. I mean, I was really scared. What if he had turned out to be a jerk? Or what if, which by the way, he's not. He's the nicest person on earth.
Yeah.
Or what if, I don't know, what if I tripped and fell? What if this? What if that? What if 1,000 different things?
Sure.
But I did it anyway. And so, yeah, dancing has been, it's even changed the way that I express myself physically. I mean, with my clients and how comfortable I could be in a meeting with them, or maybe meeting potential investors for a client. I mean, that can be really nerve-wracking, or working with lawyers. That's sometimes nerve-wracking.
That's the worst.
With some of them, it can be. They can be extremely aggressive and purposefully intimidating. And I just take a deep breath and I think, you know what? I know my stuff. I know my stuff. I don't have to be scared of this person who's trying to intimidate me. I used to dress very, very conservatively until my friend Heidi, she pointed out that there is a big discrepancy between how colorful my personality was and how not colorful my clothing and jewelry were.
Sure.
And that was from being scared of being judged by people.
Mm-hmm.
That was totally came from that. And so hanging out with all these women who, wear costumes and fake eyelashes and makeup and, wow, it's just, it's helped me kind of figure out, okay, well, who am I? and what do I want to wear to express who I am inside. And I think clients are a lot more comfortable with that when I go to a meeting not wearing a business suit, not even business casual. I'm wearing a colorful outfit that expresses who I am as a human being. And that makes them feel more comfortable. It makes me feel more comfortable. And that all came from this experience.
That's amazing. Like, that's just so great. And yeah, I mean, just how before you're almost pretending to be an accountant or what you think an accountant should be. I mean, I was there when I first started.
What I think a client thinks an accountant should
Oh
be.
yeah, that's even that's even one more removed.
Yeah.
And then when you take a step back, you're like, wait, this is ridiculous. I mean, I don't even like this. What is going on?
Yeah.
And this isn't who I am. And you're not even relating to clients on a human level. It's on a transactional level because you're each one removed from who you really are. And
exactly.
So that's so cool to hear that, you know, by doing this and expressing yourself, it's broken through, and that your business has flourished even, and that, you know, even more clients gravitate towards you because of this.
I actually had a really wonderful email this week from a potential client who got in touch saying, "Hey, I'm getting in touch about some accounting stuff that I need help with. You were recommended by so and so, and by the way, I saw you at Summer Dance a couple weeks ago. You were great."
Nice.
And I just thought, oh, wow! And that didn't prevent her from coming.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And you emailed in spite of that. So
exactly.
So all that stuff that's in your head of people judging you, obviously they're judging you in a good way. I mean, they're, you know, that's...
I couldn't possibly have known any of that unless I tried it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, and it's scary to do that as if you're stepping off a cliff or stepping out of the nest, and it's scary to do that. But what I think that none of us realize until we take that step is that staying in the nest is even more detrimental.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And part of that is because we've got all of these things in our heads that, keep us terrified. It's not coming from outside. We're projecting. We're worried about what other people might think of us. And I think one of the things that we forget, well, I certainly did, is that we're not in 8th grade anymore. People aren't looking for an opportunity to shoot you down. They're not.
Right.
People, they want to be supported. They want to be excited about what you're doing, and they want to be inspired. I mean, meeting Doug last year, he doesn't want people to be afraid to walk up and shake his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be approachable, and he wants to meet people who will take a deep breath and say, "Hi, I'm a fan. You're cool." 8th grade is a long way away from where we all are now, but I think we forget that because in our heads, we're all kind of still in 8th grade.
Right. Well, 8th grade was pretty daunting, so I think we're still getting over it. I mean,
yes. We're all still struggling with that.
I'm still in a locker right now. I feel like I'm still jammed in there by the football team.
I'm still being beat up in the locker room. Yes.
Right.
It's not happening anymore. We're all grown up now, and to some extent, I mean, we're all professionals, and we do to some extent get to pick and choose who we work with, or the terms at least in which we're working, and to remember that people aren't out there to get you.
Yeah.
That's really reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a really good point that you made that I just want to reiterate, is that we're projecting, that it's all in our head. We're projecting what the other person thinks. And the problem is that we're all projecting off of each other. So we're all calibrating to each other. So we're all off.
Yes.
Everybody's off.
Yes.
And
so true.
And it just takes one of us to just step out and ground yourself in who you are and what you do. And you still do a great job, obviously. The accounting doesn't suffer from this.
Oh, God, no. I hope not.
Right, no, exactly. But,
no, I'm every bit as passionate about it as I ever have been.
Right,
yeah.
and if anything, this enhances it. And that's such an excellent example for others to hear and to learn from. So those are some excellent points. And so before you got into dancing in your other work and what have you, did you have other activities hobbies, passions that you shared, or was this the one that made it come out?
That's a great question.
All of my questions are great, Nancy. No, I'm just kidding.
They're all great questions. Yes, I've probably never met a hobby I didn't like. I'm a certified sake professional, which is like a sommelier for sake, which is a Japanese brewed rice drink.
Sure.
And I run a women's wine tasting group called the Wine Birds.
Wow, I'm catching a common theme here.
Yeah. I love cooking. I love travel, museums, science, especially biology and natural history, less physics, but I'm working on that.
Sure.
So I've always had tons of hobbies, but I think in the past those have been escapes from work a little bit more than this is. This feels intrinsically related in that, you don't normally share with your clients what all your hobbies are, whereas this is kind of as obvious as it can be. I mean, it's the freaking name of my company.
Right.
Not like it's going to not come up in conversation. So I've always had outlets, absolutely, but I haven't been quite so, public about the outlets. Maybe that's it.
Sure. And what do you think held you back from wanting to be more public about those?
Definitely, wanting to be more public about
or
those.
Just to share them.
That's a great question. I mean, I guess they don't easily come up in conversation is probably as the simplest. I mean, I wish it were like that, but how do we introduce ourselves to the person who's sitting next to us on the plane, right? We say, what do you do?
Right. Yeah.
And the answer...
I always say accountant and end of conversation. Never a follow-up question.
Nobody wants to talk.
Whenever I say comedy, it's like, oh, now we're talking the whole flight to LA.
That's really funny. I've had the opposite experience. I find at times that I have to hide the fact that I'm an accountant because especially when I'm getting a massage. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I'll be getting a massage.
It's so peaceful to talk about accounting.
You're right, exactly. Or when I'm getting my haircut, same thing happens. You say you're an accountant, and massage therapists and hairdressers are almost always treated as independent contractors.
Right.
Yet they don't know how to keep their own books. They're not really sure how to fill out a Schedule C. Should they get an LLC or not? Should they become an S Corp? And the next thing you know, an hour has gone by and you're thinking, whoa, I just paid for that? They should be paying me.
Right, this is the other way around.
So,
right.
Yeah. And I love helping people. So it's not that, but every once in a while.
Right.
So maybe it's because I'm a small business accountant as opposed to, I don't do audit work and I don't work for a big corporation. So
right. That's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, like how do you approach that? Yeah, in a work setting, how would you bring that up? Type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe we should, but we don't tend to ask each other in any environment. We don't say, so what do you like to do in your free time? I mean, that sounds like you're asking somebody on a date when you say that.
Yeah.
It's just way too personal.
Right.
So I think that's, I'm as extroverted as they come. If somebody showed an interest in my personal hobbies, I'd share them with them. So it wasn't through embarrassment or worried about judgment or anything like that, the way that I was when I first started dancing.
Right. It was just the opportunity didn't present itself.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
it's not like being in a flash mob at an accounting contest. Right. No,
yeah.
Anybody you run into for the next 3 days is going to be like, hey, that was really cool. And the next thing you know, you're talking about dancing.
Right. No, that is so perfect. I remember when I used to work corporate and I used to go ask whenever I'd start in a new department or just on occasion, I would just go up to people and be like, so what do you do? And they would always start with their job. Well, I take this spreadsheet and then I would, no, that's your job. Like, what do you do? Like, who are you? Like, what do you, and sometimes people just have a hard time answering that question where maybe they don't feel, like you said earlier, that their hobby is really that interesting. Well, I really love to watch Mad Men. Well, great. That's what you do. I mean, like whatever it is. I mean, it's something that's that simple because what's so amazing is that so does that person 3 cubes away, but you never say it. And then none of you say it. and then you have no connection whatsoever to
Right,
anybody.
there's zero connection.
And, I mean, who knows? Maybe someone you worked with is the biggest biology museum buff ever, and
Right,
and you
absolutely.
missed the boat. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But you never would be in dancing, so you'd be running a museum. But, I mean, that's the thing that, how much is it on the person to just open up and say at lunch, so this weekend I was at the, such and such museum, or I went to this movie or whatever, as opposed, so that's the fine line between how much is it on the person to bring up versus, someone else approaching you to open up type of thing.
I had a funny one from a friend of mine. She actually used to be a client. She was the COO at one of my major clients, and she left to raise her children and ended up doing bookkeeping for me on the side. That's, while she was raising her kids. So that's a pretty cool relationship.
Yeah.
And she found out that I don't watch television. I mean, we don't have a television, but we'll sometimes stream stuff or, like Cosmos.
Sure, right.
But I'm just not much of a TV or a movie person.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, what do you do? And I didn't understand the question. I'm like, what do you mean, what do I do? She's like, well, like at night when you get home, what do you do if you don't have a TV? And I was just like all the rest of the things in life. Right. That was a really odd question for me. I think I've always just been a hobby person. I mean, I'm endlessly fascinated by knowledge. And so whether that's kicking my feet up and reading an accounting textbook, which sometimes is actually what I do, or a particle physics book, or going out dancing, or, hosting the wine group, or going to a museum, or going to an event.
Right.
There's a lot out there to do, but no, we're not asking each other. We're not asking each other what those things are.
Right,
say,
right.
What do you do? That means what's your career?
Yeah, and I have to say this, that as a Michigan alum, it's completely understandable that you don't have a TV after watching your football team lose repeatedly. No, I'm just kidding.
Can I give you my standard response anytime anybody jokes about University of Michigan
Definitely.
football? Oh, Michigan has a football team? I went there for academics. Oh, clearly that's not why you chose your school.
There you go.
But
So what do you think might be, I think we might have touched on this, but just in case, any words of, some of those barriers that people might be facing, and any words of encouragement that you might have for others that might be on the fence as far as sharing and what have you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned the story earlier about Laurel talking about, we're all scared. We are. We're all scared. We all are eighth graders inside who are remembering what it felt like to be teased, or we're doing the opposite. We're being the lawyer who is also an eighth grader inside,
Mm-hmm.
except that person is making sure they don't get teased. So they're, they're trying to dole it out before it gets given to them.
Right. They're twice as scared.
Yeah, they're twice as scared,
Yeah.
And I don't mean that about all
No, but the
lawyers
person
at all.
that's
Just,
yes.
yeah, that there are some personality types out there that are gonna, try to intimidate you. And most people out there are wanting to be supportive. They are wanting to be inspired. You are the one who needs to take the deep breath and say, you know what? It's okay that I'm scared. We're all scared. The difference is that I'm going to do it. I'm going to step out on that stage, or I'm going to wear this crazy outfit, or, I'm going to publish that book, or I'm going to record that song that I wrote all those years ago, or I'm going to go to open mic night, or, whatever your hobby is, take a deep breath, recognize that we're all scared. You're not an exception. It's okay that you're scared. Take a deep breath and do it anyway. People out there, they want to applaud.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I have a great story about that. Oh my God, I was terrified. So here I had already been performing for a couple of years, and I always get stage fright. It's hard to memorize a bunch of choreographies, and you're dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the gigs that we do are solo gigs where we're teaching audience members how to dance, or they're solo gigs where we're improvising with a band, but a lot of our gigs are, somewhere between 3 and 10 of us will be doing a choreographed routine together. So if you mess up, the audience can see that you messed up because you're all supposed to be doing the same moves, right? So I always get a little bit of stage fright because you don't want to be the one that messed up. But there was a gig that was not one, but 2 different clients at the same time. So one of my clients, the Dill Pickle Food Co-op, which is the little co-op grocery store in my neighborhood, they were having an annual fundraiser at another client of mine, Cafe Mustache, which is a cafe and bar here in the neighborhood.
Okay.
So they asked if my troupe would perform at their fundraiser.
It's like your worlds are colliding. It's just...
And I just thought, oh my God, no. It's one thing for them to know that I'm a dancer. It's another thing for them to see pictures on Facebook of me in these crazy, silly costumes. But God, to actually dance for both sets of these clients at this event. And it was a tiny little event compared to most of ours, but I was more nervous than I had ever been about anything in my entire life. I was so scared. Maybe they thought, oh, I thought she was better than that, or maybe they were thinking, oh, now we'll get to see what this thing is that she's been talking about all this time, and they think I'm awful. Or to go back to the age thing, maybe they're going to be like, wow, that would be neat if she were 10 years younger, but wow, she should not be doing this anymore. All of these fears, again, they're my fears that I was projecting onto 2 sets of clients in one night. And we got up and we did the performance, and I swear the applause has never been more deafening.
Oh, that is awesome.
It was amazing. It was wonderful. We went back and did it again the next year. And, it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. I had nothing to be afraid of except for the things I was making up inside my head.
Yeah.
So the advice I would give to anybody, and it doesn't matter whether your hobby is something very public in a performance sort of way, such as the work that you and I do, or if it's something more private, don't be afraid to share it with people. Don't be afraid to, well, I keep saying don't be afraid. That's not what I mean. Be afraid. Do it anyway.
Yes. No, that's...
Don't let your fear prevent you from doing it. I mean, it's the number one thing. That was my lesson. And I hope I can spend the rest of my life telling other people, please do the same thing. For me, it's been an amazing trip because of it.
That is so perfect and so inspiring for everyone to hear. And I think that's just such a fantastic story. And I think one day all of the Green Apple podcasts will show up at one of your shows, and we will just flash mob your show, and the applause will be even more deafening and crazy, and it'll be awesome. Just
sounds wonderful.
A bunch of accountants clapping for another accountant. Like, it'll be, the world will come to an end. It'll be so fantastic. But
that'd be a good way for it to end.
Right. It'd be the perfect. But I feel like we've really gotten to know you and some really good points here, but I don't feel like we totally get to know you until I give you my 17 rapid fire questions. These are my, let's see if we can really be friends type of things.
Oh boy. We already established that we have the Notre Dame versus U of M thing going on. I mean, this friendship can only go so far, right?
No, that's true. That's an excellent point. I mean, especially in the fall, it's kind of on ice. But maybe...
In the fall when you're paying attention and I'm not.
Right, exactly. In the springtime, I might email you once in a while. So these are 17 super fast questions, and it's all for fun. So first,
I feel like I need a buzzer or something.
I do. I feel like I need, like a service bell or something. If you take too long, then. And feel free. I'll give you 2 options if you want an off the cuff option. I think that you're the kind of person that might have a third better answer. So feel free to pick that. And I mean that in all due respect. So here we go.
All right.
First question: PC or Mac?
PC.
Balance sheet or income statement?
Balance sheet. Duh.
Duh.
Oh my God, I can't believe you even asked that.
Right click or left click?
Right click.
Oh, there you. That's so predictable. I knew you'd say that one. Your favorite cereal?
Oh, I don't eat cereal. Homemade granola.
Oh, that's good. All right. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. Oh my God, I'm a huge Trekkie. Oh my God, or Trekker. depending on which group of Star Trek fans you talk to.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
Love Star Trek.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially Star Trek Next Generation.
That's the series. All right.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Cats, definitely. We do foster cat care, so we're big. I love dogs, but cats allow you to travel and they snuggle.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Favorite number?
7.
That's mine too. Good answer.
Really?
Favorite sports team?
Oh, I know the answer. The Brew City Bruisers, Milwaukee's derby team.
There you go. The roller derby.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, my best friend's on that team.
That's cool. I've never had a roller derby answer, so that's perfect. Pens or pencils?
I type on my laptop. Can I say highlighters?
Highlighters.
I always carry a highlighter.
That's good.
Always.
What color?
Yellow.
Yeah, it's standard. Sudoku or crossword puzzle?
Oh, hate them both. I definitely would go for crossword puzzles. I love the trivia aspect, but I'm not very visual, so I have trouble.
I should have thrown in tax guide. That might have won for you.
That would have won. Actually, that totally would have won.
A movie that makes you cry.
Oh, a movie that makes me cry. Wow. There are so many movies that make me cry. When Harry Met Sally. I know it's a comedy, but it's just so touching at the end. I just love it so much.
That's a great movie. Favorite color?
The blue. Okay, I've known this answer since I was a young child, and I've never had a chance to answer it. I'm so excited about this. The blue of the lights when you're on a runway at an airport. You know the blue.
I'm dying laughing right now.
You look out the window and you see the light.
At night, when it's the blue.
At night.
Yes.
At night, the blue lights on the runway. That is hands down my favorite color.
Oh, that's a good blue. Least favorite color?
Probably pink.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Peanut butter.
Ooh, solid. Favorite comedian?
Do I have to answer you? Or
No, not me. Absolutely not me.
Comedian is. Okay.
Real favorite comedian.
He's passed away, but Richard Jeni.
Oh, Richard Jeni's great. I've met him and I saw him, and he was lights out hilarious.
He was absolutely amazing, and I was honored enough to be able to see him perform a few times before he passed away. And wow, it was just genius, hilarious.
Yeah, he had a bit about hearing a noise, and his wife would make him go down, and he'd come back with an axe in his forehead, and he's like, "He's got an axe!" Like, oh man, he was so funny, so funny.
My favorite one is the one he tells about the lobster who's so excited because he says it's kind of cruel because there'd be a sign on the lobster tank saying flown in fresh daily. And he's like, think about how horrible that is. Like the lobster, you think you've won like the lobster sweepstakes.
Right.
You're like, woohoo, I'm flying here. And you show up and everybody's got a bib with your picture on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved
no,
that.
he was so funny. So funny. Next question, heels or flats?
Oh, heels. Yeah.
And the last one is favorite thing you own.
Favorite thing I own? No, that's a toss up between two things.
Okay, two things then.
Can I tell you both?
Sure, both works.
Okay. All right. So I have a disco ball I'm looking at right now. I have a disco ball in my living room.
Nice.
Taken from the ceiling. And I actually got it in exchange for teaching kids music classes back in the day.
That's fantastic.
So that's really wonderful. As a matter of fact, we had some people crash a party of ours once because they saw the disco ball reflection out in the on the sidewalk, and they just rang our doorbell and said, "Hey, this looks like a great party."
Right.
But my true coolest thing I own, greatest possession, thing I love the most, aside from our cats, is that I actually own one of the last checker cabs ever built.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
It's a beauty. And it was customized off the line. It's known as a Winkoff checker from this guy, Marv Winkoff, who was, collecting the last ones that were built and customizing them to a few of his designs. And so it's painted like a Rolls Royce. It's like dark blue on the top and silver on the bottom. It's got opera windows, and it's a beauty.
Wow! And so you park it in your garage?
It's kind of funny. I live in a condo in the Logan Square neighborhood of Chicago, and our garage is too small for
to fit it. Yeah.
So we park our bikes in the garage, and we rent space a few blocks away in a garage for the checker.
And do you take it out for a drive on occasion?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'll send you a picture of the Go Go Troupe sitting on the hood of the car.
Oh, that would be so perfect. So perfect. And everyone can check that out at greenapplepodcast.com. We'll have pictures and show notes for that. So, man, that is awesome. So thank you so much, Nancy, for being a guest and
so much fun.
Yeah, and sharing your story and really inspiring people and bringing some really great ideas to the table and explaining to people that we're all scared and just do it anyway. That's so perfect. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And, you've been pretty inspiring yourself. It's not that many people who are willing to get on front of a stage, on top of a stage in front of zillions of people and tell jokes. I mean, that's more terrifying than anything I've ever done.
Yeah, well, I would never dance in a million years. So I think we're even. So
that sounds fair.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Sounds fair. Thank you so much.
I really hope you enjoyed hearing what Nancy had to share. Visit greenapplepodcast.com to see links to Nancy and see some cool pictures of the Janes, even posing on Nancy's checker cab. From there, you can also let me know if you or an accountant you know might be a good guest for a future episode, because the best way to make this podcast great is to help by sharing it with your friends. And if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate and leave a review. And as a thank you, just email me your review and I'll send you a free digital download of my comedy album currently in rotation on SiriusXM Radio. I'm so excited for you to go out and be a green apple.
Thanks for tuning in to John Garrett on the Green Apple Podcast. Please subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher so you won't miss any future episodes. And remember, you can always listen to archived episodes or contact John directly at greenapplepodcast.com.